Hello, hello, I'm Kads, and welcome back to the free-to-play review. It is once again time to talk about my most favorite event in the game. We have another Deck of Fate, specifically the Explorer Deck of Fate. Ooh. And so this one is a combination, I'm kind of hiding it here, but it's a combination of artifact enhancement and champion training. So for those who are less familiar, the way this works is that there are 40 cards in total that contain all of these items here, which we'll talk about in a second. And you also have the RNG element of if you open or flip 3 of a kind back to back to back, or 3 in a row of these different rarities, then you have a chance to get one of these lovely juicy rewards here. So like I said, there are 40 cards total, 18 of which are common, 13 are rare, and 9 are epic, which is slightly different than it used to be. I believe there used to be 17 commons and 10 epics, so they changed it slightly. So there's one less epic card, meaning I guess you're ever so slightly less likely to get 3 of a kind in terms of the epic cards. The other big thing to talk about here about the changes relative to previous iterations of the event is that they got rid of, I guess, most of the garbage in the under the card. So normally it's like gears is definitely new to see. It's usually like little bits of energy, little bits of gems, brews, and rank and rarity charmed, and just a whole bunch of crap. And then essentially you're just hoping that you flip 3 of a kind in a row and then you get the real rewards. But in this case, it's actually pretty decent, I would say, overall. Better than usual, for sure. So you have access to, at the very least, 6-star epic gear from various hard-to-get sets. And so you have Killstroke, which you can only get from the Clan Quest shop or the Clan Coin shop. You have Divine Speed, which does come from the arena, the chests, as well as each week where you finish or where you place. You have the Defiant set, which is a Forge Pass set, as well as the Righteous set, which is also a Forge Pass set. And the cool thing is here, alongside the glyphs are nice too. So like accuracy, resistance, and speed. The coolest part, I think, is that they also have 6-star mythical gear, which you cannot get from the relative locations. So the Forge Pass can't give you that. It doesn't go up that high in terms of the, or there's no mythical materials in the Forge. There's no mythical items up for grabs in the clan shop, and then obviously you don't get mythical items from Demon Lord Clan Boss. So to give credit where credit is due, I honestly think Plarium did an excellent job here. This is a breath of fresh air. These are pretty useful rewards. Again, this gear is relatively hard to obtain, especially as a free-to-play who's not paying for the Forge Passes. You basically get peanuts as far as Forge Pass is concerned. And this is a nice thrown bone for us for that reason. Now, there is some arguments to be said that there's still some RNG here in that you could obviously get a bunch of crappy substats on the rolls, and thus you're not really going to get anything good. Like you could literally flip all 40 of the cards and get all garbage pieces just because the substats don't roll right, or they aren't right, or if they are right, they don't roll right. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to get a good solid piece, but it is nice that you just have the opportunity for these. And one thing that I actually hadn't noticed that I actually picked up from Scratch AK-47s, or Scratch Plays, I think he goes by now, on his channel or his review of this, was that they're actually all exclusively top pieces, which is good because that's just removing one extra layer of RNG so that the main stat on the gear pieces are all the same: attack, HP, and defense respectively. And so you're guaranteed to just be rolling or iterating on the substats versus also trying to get a good main stat, crit damage on gloves, for example. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a combination of artifact enhancement as well as champion training. Champion training is definitely the most accessible version of the Deck of Fate, and therefore it's probably the most recommended way to do this. But if you skip the fusion, you're probably a little bit better on silver than people like myself who did the fusion for Strategos Islin, or if you just want to be able to spend you want to be upgrading your artifacts during CVC, which is a decent source of points, then spending some silver upgrading artifacts is also a good way to get some progress in this event. So with that, let's hop over to the spreadsheet version of this and let's talk about the champion training aspect in a little bit more detail. As usual, this spreadsheet will be linked in the description box down below if you want to check this out for your own convenience. So in this case, the only options are to do the champion training or artifact enhancement, so we can ignore the dungeon divers and the soulstone summoning aspects of the spreadsheet, and we're going to be focusing here. Now, the values did change as they seem to tweak them, all the point values a little bit every time, every iteration of the Deck of Fate. I'm not really sure why, but so I do the math every time to recalculate it for the per capita and cumulative. And for those who are less familiar, per capita in this context just means that we're calculating the amount of points you're going to get for making one of the appropriate level of the chicken. And by contrast, cumulative just means you're accounting for the fact that you need chickens to make other chickens. So for example, the 4-star chicken includes all the points for the 2-star and the 3-star chickens that you will have made in order to make a 4-star chicken. And so the main takeaway here is that usually making 6-star champions is the intended purpose for champion training overall, and so you would have to make just over 3 6-star champions from scratch if you wanted to get close to maxing out this event exclusively from champion training. Now, considering that this is a 4-day event, that is probably impractical. That would cost a lot of energy, and so once again, I do recommend you kind of mix and match champion training with artifact enhancement if you're pursuing this at all. Now, for myself, I generally skip these regardless of the source of the point acquisition, just because the rewards are typically not worth it. However, I was somewhat tempted because there is some of the Forge Pass sets that I can't really get since I don't buy the Forge Passes, but they don't have the bolster set in there, and that's probably the one I would want the most. So if that was in there, I would probably have gone a little bit harder into the champion training aspect of it in order to get just some more flips. As I already mentioned, we are just coming off of a fusion, and in between fusions is generally speaking when I like to do a lot of my Minotaur, because I have a massive backlog of champions that need masteries because there's so much other things going on in the game that I just don't have the time. So I prefer to focus on those in between fusions just because that's the only time we really can. And in this case, I'm choosing to basically do the same for the reason I just specified, but also the fact that we just came off of a champion training event, which had a primal shard at 12,000 points. And I'm used to maxing those out all the way because they usually have legendary tomes as well. In this case, it was at 11,000 for the tome, 12,000 for the primal. And if I'm going to get all the way to 11,000, I might as well do the last 1,000. So I'm literally fresh off of burning a bunch of extra energy to finish the champion training event. So the last thing I want to do is more champion training. But again, like I said, if there was the bolster set in there, I probably would have been convinced to do a bit more. Now, of course, you can see here that I do have 11,000 points accumulated already. And the way I did that was by doing a partial gear cleanse. So gear cleanse, for those who don't know, just means that you're taking some gear that you haven't leveled up and you're taking it to level 4, level 8, level 12, and potentially even level 16, just to see how these substats roll. And in this case, I didn't want to completely rinse myself of silver, so I tried to limit myself to only going to level 12 and not 16, but I did go 16 on a couple of pieces just because I was really curious to see how the hell they were going to roll. But nonetheless, I tried to keep that limit in place just to not burn through all of my silver, and I set a hard floor at around 10 million. I started off around 33, I think, 31, 33, somewhere around there, and now I'm down to like 9, so I passed that threshold, and that's where I got the 11,000 points. And so I do intend to keep focusing on Minotaur for the next few days. I think there's a Fire Knight tournament starting tomorrow, which I'm going to check if there's some Immortal Soul coins in there, because that's effectively Immortal Soul Essence. So I still need more of those, so I'll be splitting my energy between Fire Knight and Minotaur, depending on the rewards. And essentially over the course of the next 4 days, all my silver that goes above 10 million is what I'll allocate to spending on upgrading more things to level 12 just to see how the substats roll and flipping over the last few cards. So essentially, if you are keen on getting some pretty high quality gear in terms of rank and rarity, but again, you still have the RNG of the actual substats as well as the substat rolls, so there is a little bit of gambling from that perspective. But if you are in the market for that, then I do recommend you can participate in this Deck of Fate in particular. Champion training, again, is probably the most accessible way to gather points, but I think it is worth it also to do some sort of gear cleanse just so you can recoup some of the silver, because you can sell all the pieces that don't roll correctly or roll good enough for whatever your standards are. So let's end here with a little bit of dopamine and see if we can get 3 of a kind of a good rarity. I don't really do this in any particular order. I don't really have a strategy to it. I don't think there can be a strategy to it because I think it's just kind of random. Whatever happens, happens. So I just kind of click in random places and we'll see what happens. So I, generally speaking, don't really care too much. Well, care is not the right word. I'm never too hopeful to get 3 of a kind of the 2 higher rarities. So I try to get 3 of the uncommons strung together, or 3 commons strung together, just for the chance at the lower level bonus rewards. So far we are looking good. We got 2 out of 3. Can we get a 3 out of 3? Yes. And the bonus is going to be 300,000 silver. You know what? Hey, that's like 1 artifact to level 12. So that might have bought me another flip. We'll see down the road. But let's keep it going. Okay, got a nice 6-star speed glyph. I do need more of those. I just used a lot. I think I used 4 on my Arbiter piece that I think I posted in my community tab. And I was able to get a +7 on speed. I don't usually fight from a 7 to an 8, because that just seems like a waste of glyphs. So I usually accept a 7 or an 8 for a 6-star speed glyph. But okay, 2 epics in a row. That is potentially juicy. I don't think I'm going to get a third, but that would be spectacular if it were to happen. Nope, unfortunately not. Okay, so we're back to the commons. Hopefully we can get 3 of a kind. No, we got a rare in the mix. Unfortunate. So we got 3 more flips. So either this needs to be a rare. No, we're back to the epics. Darn. Okay. Well, that I guess that's the end of the string. Oh, pause champ. Can we get 3? Can we get the 3rd epic here? I don't think we can. You know what? Let's be positive. I totally think we can get it, and it's right here. It is not. Well, that kind of highlights the unfortunate part of the Deck of Fate type of event. And the reason I did say that it is my least favorite is because the rewards are not guaranteed unless you do all 40 of them, and you don't really know how much that's going to cost you ahead of time. Or I guess you don't know how much you have to do to get the particular rewards that you might want. So I might care more about the mythical cruel gear, for example, but I might have to flip all 40 cards to actually get those 2 or 3 pieces. And of course, the other element of that is trying to get 3 of a kind, which is relatively speaking unlikely, even for stringing 3 of the commons in a row. And so it's just RNG on RNG to get potential rewards, and it's just not the most fun experience in my opinion as far as events are concerned. I'd much rather do like a Path of Light, where it's a really defined task with a defined path that I know I can work towards and progress over the next X amount of days, or however long it lasts. So anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys found this helpful as far as determining what you should do for yourself for the Explorer Deck of Fate. One last thing to mention is that we have just passed over 750 subscribers on the channel, which is amazing. So thank you to all of you lovely people. I greatly appreciate it, and it's been really fun growing this channel from the ground up. The next celebratory milestone will be at 800, of course, with the end stretch goal being 1,000 subscribers on the channel by the end of the year. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, then be sure to hit that like button down below, as well as subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.